Hi, Anita, human behavior expert extraordinaire.
So lovely to be with you. How are you?
I'm good. Okay, so the questions that we're drawn to that we wanted to discuss today is the fear of death or terminal illness. So the question would be, I'm scared of death, help me.
Love it. Okay. So we're going with that, yeah?
Yeah, so
Okay.
when I say that, how does that, like, what does that elicit for you? What's the first thing
So
you
so
think?
yeah, so for me it's totally such a common one. And what usually comes up is a little bit what we just talked about is people usually aren't actually that scared of the dying part,
Mm,
but it's the part that maybe they're going to get sick and have to suffer sickness that leads up to death. I mean, for
mm-hmm.
some people, it can be the death. So people are going to be listening to this going, no, 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 it is the death part that I'm actually scared of. But a lot of the time, it can be kind of the leading up to it. Because in theory, if we look at it, to just die suddenly, it's kind of like that, right? One
Mm-hmm.
minute we're here, one minute we're not. And then what some people will say to me is, what are they missing out on in dying? So if we die, what am I going to miss out on in life? What have I not done in this lifetime? That's a lot of the things that can come up for people.
Yeah.
If we're actually looking at simply the part of death, it's like you're here one minute and you're not the next. So what are we actually scared of within that?
And I think, as I mentioned with one of my clients, that she was scared of being a burden on her family if she was ill.
Yes, totally, totally understand
Do you
that. Yeah,
get
yeah,
that
yeah.
often? Do you get people saying, I'm scared of getting sick and being a burden? And what is that
I
in
haven't.
service of?
Yeah, no, I haven't heard that one too many times. And this is where, if yeah, obviously if there was someone here with that, what I'll be working on is more around where do they feel a burden in their lives anyway? Because I think that's it. It's kind
Hmm.
of like we're playing out these worst case scenarios about being a burden whilst we're in a dying state. But the fact that we've
Mm.
even got access to that would suggest that potentially we are already feeling a burden in life to someone. So that's kind of where we would go with that. That's usually where it goes to. So it's an experience that we've already had that we're now projecting into the future.
Hmm. And do you think this fear of death comes with associations of faith or no faith? Do you think the fear is even equal, across the board with people, or do you think it's actually, if you have more faith you're scared of death, or if you have no faith?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, there's so many different meanings around it. I know personally, I am quite obsessed with watching near-death experiences. So I completely love it. And I see for myself, what is it that I like so much about it? And with my personality type, for those that know the Enneagram, the type 6, the loyalist, it's all about preparing for the worst case scenarios. So in a sense, for me, what I see is I enjoy watching all of this stuff because in a way it's like preparing me already for death to see that so many people have been in situations where they have died and then they've come back into their bodies to be able to tell the story about this beautiful process that they've experienced as they passed over. Now, I'm not saying that they were all beautiful, but I think there's only been one that I've heard that was not as beautiful, but every other one, to the point where I even met someone last week that told me that when they were 13 years old, they had had an incident when they were in a coma and they did experience a death state and they met their grandparents, they met other people as they passed over. They were in this beautiful state of, everything being loving and joyful, no longer being in the struggles of their mind. And this message then came through of them needing to go back to complete whatever they needed to complete in their life. And
Hmm.
that's very common of near death experiences. So as I hear those, for me, I go, well, what are we so afraid of if that is truly going to be our experience? Then it sounds a lot more blissful than potentially the lives that we live now, because we're so in our heads torturing ourselves day to day with our self-talk that actually when that goes, it's like meditation states. So what are we
Mm.
fearing? If that's what's and who knows, I'm not saying that this is definitely going to happen and I definitely believe this, but I hear people's experiences and I'm not here to deny anyone their experience. So for me, it's like, if that's the faith that I want to have, and that's the belief that I want to carry to make it less scary, then why would I not do that in preparation for it?
So would you say, like, just coming back to that control, being a six, wanting to
Yeah,
control outcomes, would you say that the fear of death is stemming from a lack of being able to control that?
for sure. Yeah, for sure. For certain people, for absolutely sure. Yeah. And for sevens, maybe people that type sevens, which are called enthusiast, that's
Mm.
where I would say I've heard people say, I wouldn't want to die now because what am I going to miss out on in
Hmm.
life?
Hmm.
And I've actually coached people around this where we've also talked about this, but what might you be missing out on already that might be on the other side of, of,
Hmm.
of, of the
Hmm.
life that we know it as?
Yeah.
So it's kind of helping people to reframe things if they're struggling, in that sense with it.
And do you think the fear of death, I'm getting into all the questions here for myself. I don't have a fear of death. I'm also fascinated by death, but does the fear of death track to childhood, or is this a grown-up fear, an evolving grown-up fear?
So if we take away the death part, if we just look at the fear part, are we running a program of fear in many aspects of our lives? So that's
Mm,
where I would go. I would look, often we're in the story of I'm fearful of this, I'm fearful of that, I'm fearful of death. And it's then, if I'm working with someone on that, I will be also talking to them about what else might you be fearing in life? Where else might you be playing out worst case scenarios? So often we come out of the story about it being of death, and we're now again looking at where do we do fear? It's like at the moment we can say there's all this fear around AI. To me, what I see is we are human beings that are constantly in fear, and change is a massive fear for a lot of human beings. So as we look at something like AI, people go, no, Anita, you're being ridiculous. AI is something that we've never experienced before. And I'm like, yeah, and 100 years ago, there would be equal fear around something that we've never experienced before. We're human beings. Most of us do fear very well. It's like, where are we placing our fear? Is it in death? Is it on AI? Is it on robots taking over? Lockdown, we were in fear, obviously, of being trapped in the house. We were in fear of contracting COVID. And all that kind of, showed is there's a anxiety that's usually rumbling away anyway on the surface, and then it's brought to life, brought to the surface as something, quite extreme happens in the world. But
mhm.
it's not to say that it's not already rumbling away anyway.
Do you think, like, this society is being shepherded to be in this fear state? I mean, it is not to be a conspiracy theorist, but I am.
Yeah.
Is there a governing body that is fearless and just running their own game and putting us all into fear of living, fear of death, fear of everything?
I would say if they're human, they will be as fearful as the rest of us. So all we're doing is compounding our own fears. Like, people like to think that there's something that's beyond us, above us, that there's some sort of superhumanness that's trying to do something to us. And I'm like, well, yeah, let me meet these humans and let's see what was really happening. Are we just reflections of each other if that is the case? So for me, I think this is where we lose our power,
Mm.
by believing that someone is instilling fear into us as if we have no power over our own mind. And a lot of the time we don't, because we haven't learned how to be more quiet. Yeah, so we're kind of fearing it's the government doing stuff, it's all these people doing stuff to us. And it's like, is it? Or are we taking what they're saying and running it in our head and creating our own fear in our mind and body based on what we're hearing? And this is not to be discompassionate to anyone, but I was thinking about this earlier. It's like all of the rules that we have in place that people go, oh, the rules, and we're being controlled and all the rest of it. It's like, if we didn't have those fears and we were walking around fearless or whatever, then there wouldn't be anything to control. But because we're all kind of running around like these scared children because we haven't grown out of it, then there is a need for us to be parented. If there wasn't, these kids still running around needing to be parented, there'd be nothing to parent. So everyone would just kind of be more neutral. So I think we're constantly compounding this thing of we are being controlled and we've got something to fear because we just don't believe that we've got the capability within ourselves to realize our own power and to free ourselves.
So, what does a fearless person moving through the world look like?
Well, I'll go really extreme here.
Go
One that
extreme.
doesn't have one that doesn't have as many thoughts. Yeah. Or at least one that can see their thoughts and, spend their days reframing their thoughts, noticing them, breathing their way through them, doing whatever exercises they need to free themselves of them. So fearlessness, I mean, we can sit there and self-talk our way into I'm fearlessness or whatever, but this is going beyond that. Yeah, so it's going beyond the need to talk ourselves into I'm fearless and maybe lying to ourselves a little bit and really seeing how do we create fear? We
So,
create it.
fearlessness is not even an act of courage. It is not an opposing space. It is an empty space. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, for sure, for sure. And there'll be like so few people in this world, if they're really honest with themselves, that aren't even, the people that are showing the most fearlessness. A lot of the time, it's just a mask, right? It's trying to convince ourselves of something. But a lot of the time, when I see these people that are really confident and seeing that, it's on behalf of needing to put on a persona to try and fake it till they make it, in a sense. But most of us have got that fear running, and the most fearless we can be is to see it, to admit it to ourselves, and to have awareness as much as we can day to day, and use whatever tools we have to, maybe accept, even give ourselves permission that we're feeling fearful. And there's real fearlessness, I guess.
So, I'm hypothetically a person that's terrified of death or illness or whatnot. And I have now come to you and I've acknowledged that fear is running my life. I'm scared to cross the street. I'm scared of lots of things. But what am I, what's the thing I need to see to shift that fear or to shift the fear? Is it an umbrella fear? Is it a moment of fear? Am I timelining back? Like, what is it?
Yeah, so I would go timelining back. That's the way that I like to work. So it's like, where did fear first start for you? And that's the way to really go. And for most people, they might go, I don't know, or it's been there, it's always been there, blah, blah, blah. And when we really kind of, go through this, they'll usually have a few, maybe even just one memory from childhood that they can tap into. I was left alone in the house one day. I was lost in a supermarket one day. I had an angry parent. Yeah, and I've got
Mm.
this memory, and then they're like, oh no, it's silly, how can that be it? It's like, how many more memories you got from childhood? And there's very few. It's like, count, count those memories. You've held on to those for a reason, and you've held on to them because they're the ones that have been, helping you to form your personality and protect yourself. You would not still be remembering that memory if it hadn't shaped and formed you. So
Mm.
definitely going back to that and starting to see, where did fear start? And then it's kind of going through that process of noticing how much, has that fear been, with me, and what incidents has it come up in, and that's really the work. It's seeing that the program of fear has been with us for probably many years, and it's a program that we're looking to reinforce rather than it being something that we're actually scared of on the surface.
So obviously we both know the process of coaching, but for people that don't know, do they then have to go back and look at all the fears and many fears, or is it enough to look at one defining fear to shift the major fears in life, to shift it all?
Depends on the individual, right? And the key question that we would ask is, what's the positive intention of holding on to this fear? And people will go, no, there isn't one, there's nothing positive about it. And it's like, well, okay, you've been doing it for so long, and if it's not being let go of straight away, otherwise we go, oh yeah, I can just shift this now, and I go through a process. We might do one coaching session. I mean, sometimes, one of those one-offs can be enough, but a lot of the time, the one-off ones are the start of a process rather than the end of it. So it's kind of like unlocking something, but then the practice needs to really start in order to get long-term freedom from it. So there'll be positive intention for people for holding on to fear. How does fear serve us? Maybe in some way people go, oh, it doesn't serve me at all, I'm just an anxious mess. But if we actually really look at it, if I hold this fear, then it stops me from doing something stupid. Yeah, so
Mm.
it will stop me from saying yes to something that could be quite scary. Fear of getting hurt will stop me from going into a relationship, let's say. That's the positive
Mhm.
intention, is protection. Um,
Mm.
so yeah, it's a process, and it's like if that's what is protecting us, then we keep going with it until we're really ready to let it go.
So if someone's not in coaching and maybe they can't afford that at this moment, or whatever the story is, what would be an activity they could do independently to begin to shift fear at home? Is there one?
So again, yeah,
Putting you
if
on
you're
the
doing it
spot.
on your own, yeah, if you're doing it on your own, it's hard to say because I've never done it on my own, right? And people I work with are doing it on their own. But yeah, for sure, have a look back into your past and see what might have triggered that fear in the first place. Do you have memories from childhood? Start having a look into that. How is fear serving me? And if the answer is it's not serving me, then I would say find how it
Mm.
is. Because if we go, no, it's not serving me, but we're doing it, it will be serving you. So find that positive intention. And again, it's like there may not be a positive outcome on your life, but in the moment, there's a positive intention for running that fear for yourself, or you wouldn't be doing it. So don't deny that and have a look. So have a sit down, have a think about it, journal, whatever you want to do. I mean, look, there's a lot of tools out there on AI
Yeah,
now that you can just tap it into. So I don't
yeah,
know. We never need
yeah.
to be on our own with this anymore. There's always something out
Yeah,
there, right?
yeah. I guess when
Um,
I'm listening to this, I guess you could be listing the fear and then the positive intention. Can there be many positive intentions for the fear?
for sure. Absolutely. So get them all out, get them all down, but at least
Mm,
get one. Because if you
yeah.
haven't even got one, even if you've had a realization that that fear is because you were lost in a supermarket one day, and the positive intention of the fact that you've been running it all of this time is it's a habit because
Mm,
you're running it. So you've been running it for a reason. It's been there. And even if it's because I've been blind to it and it's a habit, well, there's the positive intention in it. There's one. And then you can ask yourself, am I ready to let it go? And you go, oh, yeah, I'm ready to let it go. And then you see whether you really are or not. Because again, we might be lying to ourselves. But for other people, it's simply a practice, right? So it's like the next time we experience fear after we've done that process, it's to go, okay, fear is arising for me right now. Rather than before blindly just, being in a process of fear for hours, days, weeks, whatever. The first part is to go, okay, fear is arising for me. I can see the fear is arising. I can feel my heart starting to beat a bit faster. I can feel knots in my stomach. I can feel heat rising in my body, whatever it is. Get that link between, the mind and body. How are we doing the fear? And then from that, start to bring awareness to where did this start for me? And then you link it back to childhood. And this is the difference between sitting in it for hours, days, weeks, whatever, and now
mm,
becoming an observer, linking back to it started in childhood. There's a habit that's been running for all of these years. Now I can start to see it rather than just being in it. And from that process, hopefully, it will start to dissipate quicker. This isn't about this situation right here. I'm sitting here thinking about death. But instead
mm.
of just sitting here thinking about death and how I'm going to die and being a burden or whatever, let me just take a breath. There's fear. Where did this start for me? There's the link. So I'm not actually fearing death right now. It's simply in the program that has been a part of my, me for all of these years. So now I
Mm-hmm.
can stop making it about death and start now realizing it's a habit and a program that is, embodied. It's like anchored into mind and body. And to be able to see it in the moments is the start of being able to hopefully start to let go of that.
So it's never the external, it's never the outcome, it's always the feeling.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
And do
Yeah.
you have a fear that you've shifted and a fear that you still have now, if you want to share it with us?
So a fear would be something like, so for me, one would be cockroaches, let's say. Yeah, so that was one of my things. I moved to Australia. I don't know if I'd ever seen a cockroach before Australia. And then I moved to Bondi and I didn't, I couldn't unsee cockroaches.
And so have you fixed that fear, or is that something
Yeah.
you want to hold on to?
So this was so for me, the difference between absolutely freaking out. This is the same with mice as well. There's a little mouse that runs around the cafe that I sit in. I won't name names, but that happens quite regularly. And so with that one in particular, so what I watched growing up was, well, I've got one memory, so I'm not going to say this is, but when I was, I don't know, however old, 8 years old, I was in France on holiday and a mouse ran into the kitchen and my mum jumped on the table screaming. Whether this was true or not, this is my memory of it that I've kept with me. She's scared of mice, so it probably was fairly true. But the memory that I actually have in my head was that she jumped on the table, right? And so probably that was what gave me that fear of mice, was that memory of my mum. And so the same cockroaches, mice, cockroaches, whatever. And the difference then became was when I started training in this was what happens is when we have these things occur, we are not present in the moment as I see the mice, as I see the cockroach. I have got this memory that comes to me that then impacts me. So I'm not present. If I'm fully 100% present, which is now what I do. So as soon as there's a cockroach, a mouse, or whatever, I literally now see it. And instead of that fear flooding my system, I catch it so quickly that I breathe my way into simply watching it. So then I'm
Wow.
not going back into a memory of
Yeah.
being scared, because what we're doing is we're leaving the present moment and we're now what we call metastating our way. We're fearing what's happening there.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas to simply breathe and watch it, it's not doing anything. It's just running across the floor. That
Wow.
hasn't, and that's the
Yeah.
difference. And I know there's lots of phobia. We call it a phobia. We call it phobia cures and all the rest of it, where we can do this through NLP. But for me, the biggest and the best thing that I took away from any of those courses wasn't needing to run those patterns for myself of getting rid of the phobia. It was simply to use my breath to breathe my way into presence and perceive what I'm seeing, rather than metastate my way into fear of something by bringing up memories.
Wow. And is there a fear that you still have? Are there any major, I mean, you don't have to share, but yeah, do you have
No,
any
yeah, I
major?
can see yeah. I mean, there's definitely things that still impact me now. Okay, so what could we say? So a fear of, so say I'm dating someone or something, I'm having an interaction with someone, dating, whatever
Mm-hmm.
we want to call it, something's happening. If I see them with someone else, that definitely brings up stuff in my system. So
That's
there's
a
like
big one.
yeah. So the fear of not being number one. And this again goes back to childhood. I have a sister, we're only about a year apart. And that was my childhood experience, the competitiveness, not that we were in competition, but all of that. And so that definitely is one that is still more of a practice for me of taking that breath, seeing what I see, but also the positive intention in holding on to that is so that you won't fuck me over.
So there's a
Yeah. So
protection.
I will stay away from you now, which
Mm.
serves me as much as it serves me, right? It's like I won't go near that man again because that has been seen now. So there's the protection. And it works well because it keeps me away from them, but it's not always the most optimal for my nervous system, right? As that stuff comes
Mm-hmm.
up. So it's a lot easier to look at cockroaches and mice than it is.
Then men. Wow.
Well, or it's not even about the man, or it's not even about the man, it's about the
But
woman that represents the sister.
yes.
Yeah,
Wow.
yeah, yeah.
Fascinating. That is big. Well, I can't wait for an update. So, just to summarize, if someone's having any fear of death or any fear of anything, it's generally an umbrella fear. And it's important to see the positive intention that fear has and the negative intention that fear has. And when you're in the fear, just to summarize, it's important to not leave the moment and go somewhere else, but to breathe in the moment, to observe, to be as present as possible where the fear is being elicited in your body, in your being, and then observing the present moment in all its surroundings and experience. Correct?
Absolutely. Yeah. Recognizing as well the association with the past. We're not the bigger the trigger in the moment, so the more that we're feeling it in body, processing it in mind, is an indicator that this is not about here and now. You have left the present moment. The bigger the sensation through the system, the more indication there is of a past experience that there's some serious work to be done on. You know, the more out of 10, the closer to 10 it is.
Wow.
The
Yeah.
more it's not about the present moment, the more it's about the unhealed stuff from the past. That's a really
Wow.
huge one. And I think that this is the biggest one with the whole death thing. The irony about it is that most of our stuff is around survival. The number one guaranteed thing in life is death.
Yeah.
So it's guaranteed. It's the thing we're most scared of. The thing we're trying to do is survive, but it is the thing that is the number one guarantee, is that we are going to die. So it's the irony of being the most scared of the thing that is the only thing that's guaranteed in life,
Wow. Yeah.
is that the
Wow.
physical body dies. What the consciousness does of us, that's the part, and that's the reframe that I give myself now. That's the exciting part, is even when the physical body dies, what is the potential for us beyond that? And this is the way that I always see it. The more of this kind of work we can do whilst we're alive, the more potential we have for playing in the afterlife. That's the way I see it. That's just my meaning around it, right?
Absolutely.
So
I
the
have the
more
same
access I
meaning
have
around that.
to, yeah, the meditation state, to conscious state, not the conscious state of the personality and the humanness, but what we may see as an unconscious state when we're in our deeper sleep states, let's say. The more we can stay awake to the deeper sleep state, and I'm not claiming that there's, you know, I do that with as many as like of us that can, but the more that we can tap into what is out there beyond this physical body, kind of the less we're going to experience the separation of this all. So it's, for me, there's more of an excitement of what is beyond this physical body rather than fearing what happens when it goes. So
Wow. That's a
really
whole other topic.
Yes, it is.
That is amazing. Is there anything else you want to share? We feeling good about that? Yeah.
Good about that. Yeah.
Okay.
Do you got anything else?
No,
What do you think?
I think that was really clear, and I think it's a really nice place to start because a lot of people are just gripped with fear.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm exposed to it every day with different people, and yeah, it's running a lot of lives.
Yeah.
I don't have as many fears like that I'm struggling with. I do have some big ones, but I'm aware of them and I'm constantly doing the work. But I know, like, for some people, it's driving in a tunnel, it's going in a lift.
Yeah.
I'm scared of going in a lift. I mean,
Yeah.
and that's a big one to unpack. Like, I mean, scared of driving out your area.
Yeah.
Sorry, 1 second. Yeah, scared of driving in your area or going in a lift. That's a big one, and I think it comes down to control again. You know,
Yeah.
and not being able to control the situation. And you know, I'm listening to that, and having someone. It seems silly, but I watch people have these fears, and I know how much unpacking they need to do. But if you're not ready, you're not ready.
No, if you're not ready, you're
Yeah.
not ready. And like, as you say that, it's like that whole, because I hear this stuff a lot, is that feeling of potentially being trapped as we go into a lift, not having control.
Yes.
And it's like, as soon as I hear someone say that, I'm literally visualizing stepping into a lift and simply breathing.
Yeah.
Because the more
Okay.
that we can connect into the breath, none of that matters, because now we're outside of our thinking mind that is telling us that we're not in control and that something's going to happen and we're trapped, and we're simply breathing and we're present and we're standing in a lift. We could just be standing anywhere, looking at the mouse, looking at the man, looking at the girl, looking
Mm,
at the lift, looking
mm.
at not being in our area, and we're just simply perceiving, watching. And once we can do that, come out of mind, connect in with breath, into where we are. It's like we are fully now connected with where we are. There is no difference to the environment we're in or anything like that. There is nothing to fear. Fear only exists in mind. It doesn't
So bringing
exist in
awareness to the
presence.
outside space and the present is so observing the color of the lift, observing
Yeah,
what is the temperature.
yeah,
I'm going to put a little brief together for
yeah,
people that they can
yeah,
do at home if they want. If they want to
yeah,
message me, they can message me and I'll send it to them.
yeah,
Breaking
yeah,
this down just
yeah.
so they
So
can
it's the
begin to
one that
go.
I use as well. This is one. It's gasp, GASP. So
Mm-hmm,
it's grounding ourselves, GA, in our conscious awareness,
mm-hmm,
GAS, getting into the senses and sensations of what, as you say, what we hear, what
mm-hmm.
we see, what we smell, and becoming present.
That's a good
So
one. That's a good
gasp, and
one.
gasp is like a shortness of breath. So I always say it's like when we're feeling a shortness of breath, when we're feeling fear, anxiety, and we're feeling that gasp, it's like take a long, deep breath in to ground ourselves into our awareness, senses and sensations around
Mm,
us, into presence. And there's no problems there.
yeah, yeah,
Fear can
absolutely.
only exist in mind, it's not a present state.
Yeah, that's amazing. And if anyone wants to reach out to me or Anita, if you want Anita's details, you can contact me or you can contact her directly and yeah, have
Candice
a
too.
session, have a
Yeah.
transformative session. Okay, well, hopefully we get to chat again. I'm
We definitely
gonna
will. Let's keep the
thank you
questions
very much.
coming from our
Yes,
audience. Love that. Thank you
I'm
so
gonna wrap it.
much.
Thank you.